23rd, 26th meeting to order. I'd like to introduce our board. We'll start with Ryan.
Brian Baker.
Donna Cook.
Anil Vera.
Frank Lamia.
Kathy Slagle.
Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the minutes for January 22, 26. Oh, no, yes.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I see for myself, I was an alternate, not the vice chair. You're the vice chair.
Right, yeah, okay.
Good catch. That was an old template, and we need to change that.
Are there any other corrections? Have a motion to accept those?
Motion to accept.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right. Our first order of business is BOA 26.01. It's a public hearing to consider the request of the owner, Karen Rice, for a 15-foot front yard setback. The property is located at 11 Greenbrier Lane, and staff will keep us up to date on this, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is a public hearing to consider a 15-foot front yard setback variance. Property is zoned R1, located at 11 Greenbrier Lane. It's approximately 0.38 acres. The property owner is Ms. Karen Rice, who I believe is in attendance this evening. On your screens, you'll see our standard locator maps showing the surrounding zoning districts on the left and the aerial imagery on the right for all the neighboring properties. There have been no other Board of Adjustment applications for this property, and our existing conditions here illustrated as a wooded lot. This is an undeveloped property, one of only a few within the neighborhood, and their proposed conditions. This is a preliminary site plan for a single-family dwelling. I believe it's about 2,900. It's kind of difficult to scale at this stage. But 2,900 square feet. The applicant is requesting, like I mentioned, a 15-foot front yard setback variance to construct a single-family dwelling. This would put it within the 40-foot required front yard setback as required by the zoning ordinance and the zoning district, which is R1, low-density single-family residential. The site is Lot 9 within Greenbrier Subdivision, Unit 2. This is one of only 3 undeveloped lots. The Greenbrier Subdivision was approved in 1993, and the setbacks follow the current zoning district rules as set out in Article 3 of the zoning ordinance, which I have on your screen here for you. They required a 40-foot front yard, standard 35 rear and 10-foot side. The only kind of caveat to this is, I'll say, with a side setback, if you have a driveway that extends beyond the front of the house, that side setback goes to 15 feet. The 1993 plat for Greenbrier Subdivision showed several easements along the subject site, about a 7.5-foot drainage easement along the north property line, 20-foot drainage easement crossing the southeast corner, and a 10-foot utility easement along Greenbrier Lane. There's also a central drainage easement ranging from 20 to 35 feet wide, which is just north of a very large gully, about 15 feet wide and 15 feet deep, which I've highlighted here for you in that blue color. The applicant plans to build, by this site plan, about a 2,900 square foot home. And speaking with her, I believe that is closer to 2,100 square feet. She's in the audience and can speak to that a little bit more clearly. Just northwest of the gully, that will put the house approximately 15 feet into that 40-foot front yard setback. The full narrative was provided in your application package. However, the justification provided was for that gully that exists in the middle of the lot. The site plan on your screen here kind of gives you a few lines to reference. Starting with the purple line, that is the required 40-foot front yard setback, showing the proposed house well inside that. The green line to its left is a 30-foot front yard setback if only 10 feet variance was approved. They are requesting 15, however, which is that red line, 25-foot requested setback. I gave the green dashed line really because the site plan as currently drawn as you can see, reflects a 30-foot setback. In their narrative, I believe they spoke that a 30-foot front yard setback would be adequate, but they would prefer a 25-foot front yard setback. Staff recognizes that the lot's physical challenges exist for setback compliance. However, the lot is buildable as is. There is a potential for a different building footprint on the lot that might meet setback requirements and not require a variance. A similar variance, however, was approved nearby. So in this image here on the right side of your screen, our subject site is Lot 9. Lot 1, just to the east of it of Greenbrier subdivision, was approved a variance in April of 2006 for a 15-foot front yard setback variance. This is 95 Blue Island Avenue, also zoned R1. Also has a required 40-foot standards front setback. Due to that, another kind of finger of that gully going into Lot 1, the board saw fit to approve a 15-foot front yard variance for that lot at the time. Of the 19 lots within Greenbrier subdivision, only 2, including the subject site and 95 Blue Island Avenue, are impacted by gullies such that a setback variance would provide potential relief. Other lots don't really show any topographical challenges there. During our public comment period, staff did receive comments from 2 individuals opposing the requested variance. Their full comments were included in your packets. In general, it seems like their concerns primarily stand with the applicant having not received HOA approval yet. That's something that this board doesn't really take into consideration, as you're well aware. However, I will say that the Greenbrier subdivision plat that was recorded did not have any sort of specific setbacks listed on it, nor do the HOA covenants and restrictions that staff was able to find recorded in Baldwin County probate. Ultimately, as far as staff conclusions go, the applicant has shown evidence of potentially exceptional conditions that might justify a variance on their property. However, applying the standard zoning ordinance requirements would not create an unnecessary hardship. The site can be developed without the need for a variance. The topographical challenges presented are potentially peculiar. There's a couple of other lots within the neighborhood that this also affects. And if granted, staff does not believe staff believes a variance is unlikely to cause substantial detriment to the public good. Additionally, this request does align with previous approvals in the area. However, as you're well aware, for variance requests, staff must follow what the zoning ordinance states. We're a little bit more limited in our scope of consideration. Although there are some physical challenges, it is possible to develop without the need for a variance. And as such, staff does recommend denial of BOA 26.01, 11 Greenbrier Lane, request for a 15-foot front yard setback variance. Karen Rice is the property owner and is present to answer any questions you have. And of course, I am available should you have any questions of me.
All right, at this time, if the applicant would like to come up and speak additionally on this, you'll state your name for us, please, and address. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Karen Rice, and I'm asking for a 15-foot variance, Greenbrier, to
Can you
build
state your address for us for the record, please?
219 Satellite Drive, Alabaster. And what I'm showing on the maps is with the curve of the cul-de-sac, that my home will be even with the next-door neighbor with a 15-foot variance. Item 3 shows that the 3 trees are on my lot, and the driveway would be right next to the trees. That's item 3.
Wow.
Ms. Rice, did you have anything to add?
No, do you want me to sit down?
We can have some conversations.
Okey-doke. That sounds good. Any questions?
My only questions are, staff said that 30 feet would work, and you're asking for 25 feet. Can
Yes,
you
I
explain the
came last
difference?
month. I was told that I probably needed a wider driveway, so I'm asking for an extra 5 feet. Instead of 30, 25.
How does that affect the driveway? I don't
Well-
understand that.
The further the house can come up, the further over toward the gully I can build. And
The further you
Yes,
go to
yes,
the
sir.
south,
Yes.
the you get closer to the
Yes,
gully, so
sir.
you have to go forward.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
not
up
following.
to be able to pull in
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the garage instead of doing a,
Yeah, it looks
and
very
and I
tight.
really want to build a one-story house. And I looked at a lot of 2 stories, but they seem to be just as wide on the ground floor as this one.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
How long have you, when did you purchase this lot?
In June,
Last June.
yes.
And you saw the gully and,
Oh, I did. I saw the gully and I measured the setback and realized that with even 22 feet, it was even with my neighbor's front porch. So I thought since it is in the cul-de-sac, that it wouldn't jump out as being right, having the 15-foot setback
the
variance.
wall of that gully is secure, is it?
Yes, as far as I know. I mean, I guess it's a buildable lot.
Does it fill up with water?
No, it does not.
And I think you're hitting on one of our, concerns that has really nothing to do with the variance.
Okay.
Thank you, Peyton. Building close to a gully and with those sandy soils we have, it's kind of covered right now with coverage and as stable as I guess it'll ever be without putting a wall in. I think we do have concerns about building that close to a gully. There's a steep slope ordinance in the works right now that will keep making sure that things are not, our gullies are kind of unique. They were created by probably an overforestation of our area years and years ago. And runoff, it shows what our soil types are.
Yes.
They're very sandy, so those bluffs and gullies are fragile. So in that sense, maybe it's supporting a variance, but I don't think there's really a benefit here, by pushing away from the gully. It's, I think, just to get a bigger footprint of the house. I do want to add to a little bit, because Peyton is absolutely right. When it comes to covenants, it's typically not something we are the police over. And I don't want to speak as an expert on this, but in 1993, there was a little bit more interaction when subdivisions were done and covenants, even some drainage and things were linked in covenants when we didn't have the regulations we have today. So there was a little bit of a tie-in, and I think based on the minimum size house required in those covenants, some of these lots were accounted for in there, is my assumption. Like Peyton said, though, nothing in the minutes and all specifically say that, but you can see the drainage easements and all for the gullies and some of those protections that were put on the plat.
I've got a question. So allowing her to build closer to the cul-de-sac, does that help with the gully problem?
So as you all know, we are not approving a site plan within this variance. It's just an artificial line up front. I think Ms. Rice is true to her word, and this is what she's trying to build. If it doesn't work out, if, you know, the setback, if granted and acted upon, runs with the land. So we're not really looking at any specific site plan within this approval. We haven't reviewed that house plans until we get to a permit, and then folks outside the building or planning department will probably be looking at geotech reports and, you know, is that that close to the gully feasible? Would be another adventure we would have to kind of
Sure.
work through in permitting.
So the board, so our variance board can't put stipulations that it can't be so close to the gully?
I think you could do that. If you were wanting to grant a variance because of a topological feature and wanting to preserve that, I think you could put stipulations on that. You know, what that may be, we can certainly talk through. I'm not an expert on that. I certainly don't know this particular property. There might need to be more homework done to see what the soils, the geotech is, and what's the appropriate dimension to be away from that gully. Ms. Rice, I don't know if we've had this conversation, Peyton, may have already talked to somebody about that, but I also see a situation where I'm not gonna go spend that money until I kind of have a chance to ask for a variance too, so.
That's kind of where I am. I want the variant, I want to get approved for the
Step back up to the podium if you don't mind.
So-
I haven't spent money on anything else, engineers. I just wanted to see if I could get approved for the variance first. And I'll run anything by you guys that I need to.
And just I know they're familiar with this language, but typically the variance, when we give a setback, sometimes what we have to consider is that's just an artificial line.
Right.
That doesn't mean you build this. You could theoretically, if you could get through the permitting, you could fill in the gully, do the drainage there, and build on the whole lot, including the extra 15 feet if the variance
Yes,
was
sir.
granted.
Okay.
So there's a little
Okay.
more that we're trying to solve. But there is I think we do have a public hearing and some other questions that may come up, and we can answer all those at once.
Okay. Thank you.
Have you tried to get a footprint that fits within the setback and stays out of
This
the gully?
footprint should be within the setback. A person that was going to build on this lot helped me with this.
Wondering, this
This
is,
placement.
And within the existing setbacks, not with a variance. Assumption of a variance is always a dangerous.
Yeah.
No, this,
Did-
he actually, I asked for 25 and he placed it on 30.
Who is that?
Patrick.
So the picture
think
we
this
have
last
says
name.
25. Is that correct?
Pardon me?
The picture you gave to us says 25 feet.
Yeah, well,
Yes, that's
it
correct.
was
That's the-
adjusted. It was originally 30 and I just did not ask him to do anything else. But I think Peyton has showed pictures of the lines going for a 15-foot variance, 25.
Yeah, the request at hand is for a 15-foot variance, which would give her a 25-foot front yard setback.
Yes.
But if she pushed the house back to not need a variance,
I think that's the question
that wouldn't work.
That's the question that we haven't really received an answer for.
Okay.
This current floor plan doesn't appear to be possible to sit on that lot line if it were, going to meet that 40-foot required front setback.
Okay.
It would be pushed into the gully. So a smaller floor plan would be necessary if the standard 40-foot variance or 40-foot setback was going to be upheld.
Okay.
And I think that was, I'm not putting words in your mouth, we had a lot of, that was kind of Mr. Lamia's.
Well, that was, my question, I mean,
Yes.
just, have you tried another footprint that would fit within the 40-foot setback?
I've looked for 4 or 5 months, and I can keep looking, but I chopped this one up to fit and would love to have a one floor, just like everybody else, I guess. All the 2-story floor plans that I could find with a master on the bottom and a guest room were just as wide as this floor plan.
Do you have any limitations or requirements in your neighborhood for size?
2,200 square feet. If it's 2 floors, it's 1,200 square feet minimum on the first floor.
1,200 square foot footprint.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, at this time, we'd like to open the public portion. Is
Okay,
there
thank
anybody?
you.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this request? If you'll come up and state your name and address for us.
My name is Gerald Harshberger. I live here at 9 Greenbrier, which is the lot immediately north of what we're talking about this evening. This is the first time we've had to take a look at the possible floor plan sitting alongside our driveway. So I have many questions about that, but also understanding there are significant restrictions with the homeowners and the covenants that are there that everyone has applied so far. And a couple of them you may not know, but we do have the 1,200 square foot on the first floor with 2-car garage. And the garage are not allowed to be seen from the street. So I have a concern is how you're going to turn in on this lot with cars coming in from the side. I don't, I haven't done a survey on it, and I don't know how all that can be, but if you can't get 1,200 square feet on that level, where are you going to put the garage? You can't park on the street for any more than 4 hours because it's inside the corporate limits. So you have to have parking. Addition to that, there is a survey post on the first tree closest to the driveway, and that is, the tree is north of that. The other 2 trees have, of course, grown over the last 30 years, and they've spread out. So they're encroaching on that property line. But there's probably some variance to that since those are established and how they're managed and maintained. Second, I can say, as owning the property with part of that gully on my property, we have many water oak trees back there. And what I did to preserve my soil is gone in there 15 years ago and planted a lot of ground cover. And we've saved a lot of that soil. But all the trees that you'll notice that are leaning down in the gully are water oaks. And they've fallen in there. To put a house this size on there so far, you're going to encroach on that edge. And it is sensitive. You're going to lose some trees. And when you do, that gully's going to get bigger. If it gets bigger towards my house, we got another issue. And that's about all I can come up with for my first 30 minutes of what you've exposed so far. I'm a little disappointed, quite honestly, that the lot was ever sold. We've had 3 owners in that lot in the last 34 years. They've all been from out of town. Nobody has gone to this trouble. And I wonder why. But I do appreciate your efforts and your conversations. Yeah, Harshberger. Yeah, Gerald, that's correct. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Leroy Sloan. I live at 20 Greenbrier Lane, which is Lot 10, which is to the to the southeast of Lot 9. Following on what Mr. Harshberger said, we are concerned that the structure built on this lot may not fit in the neighborhood, might be a sore thumb structure, if you will. We would like whoever builds on the lot, Ms. Rice or whoever, to build a house that fits in, blends in with the other structures in the neighborhood, which is it's a nice street, it's a nice neighborhood. We like it like that, and we'd like to continue it. Now, we don't want to impede anybody from building on the lot if they can, you know, construct something that is appealing and fits with the current neighborhood. In my opinion, to get a structure to fit on this lot, because as Mr. Harshberger just said, once you start detreeing that lot, the north side of that gully is going to probably lose a couple, 3, 4, 5 feet. Okay, and it's gonna narrow that lot even more. So I mean, if you the diagram looks okay, but if you went out and took a look at that lot and walked back there, it is much wider, much deeper, and much more severe than you might imagine. My suggestion for anyone wanting to build on this lot is to either build a bridge to the backside of the lot, over the gully, or fill in the gully. Then you have a nice, big, beautiful lot. You can do whatever you want to with it, with all the proper setbacks and positioning the house on the lot where it's appealing. But there are numerous concerns that myself and other people in the neighborhood do have. So if you could give that due consideration, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I've got a question for staff. You can't fill in the gully, can you?
Cannot answer that question for you.
Okay.
That would be a whole process that is, we haven't even begun to get any applications. There are protections on most of the gullies at the federal level. I don't know about this one. There's never been a delineation or floodway study that I know of that we can find on record, because no one's ever submitted an actual permit for this property. So, you know, a little premature to answer that. You couldn't fill it in because of that drainage easement without going through more channels than just something we can resolve tonight. I know so historically there were some drainage patterns changed. So theoretically, is this drainage needed from just a flood management standpoint or stormwater management standpoint? That's one thing that would have to be verified. Soil types and what's there would be another, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, it's very unlikely that you can fill in gullies, just carte
But it
blanche.
not only affects this property, but adjoining properties.
And that's the kind of, it would require I know we've had a lot of, in my 7 years, there's been probably 3 or 4 dozen people look at this particular property. And that was always the same one. We really can't tell you. Theoretically, you could maybe go engineer something and get a lot of things done. But you would have to, before I give anyone any comfort level of whether that could be done or not, they would need engineers, not a planning director or us to be able to tell them what can be done there. And again, that's probably pretty expensive, and most of the folks have kind of,
But the city doesn't have regulations that would prevent them, it would just require them to do drainage studies, whatever required in order to do that. I guess that's what Neil and I are curious, is the city have specific ordinances or something that would prevent them from filling in the gully?
and it is, the city doesn't have a direct, can you fill in the gully ordinance?
Right.
We are working on a steep slope ordinance that will protect some things, but the gullies are actually defined by, I guess the FDA, or not, FEMA, I believe, that has a definition of what the gullies are. So there's some federal guidelines. You know, gullies are kind of a unique thing of, I think we have about 78% of the gullies in Baldwin County, just in our 12 square miles. So
I mean,
whether you can fill one in has never come up.
well, I know in my neighborhood, there was somebody that filled in a drainage way behind some properties. I don't know if they considered it a gully or not. I don't know where it gets defined or not, and they put in a lot of, I mean, it was a lot of work. They put in large storm pipes to
Yes.
redirect it and fill in part of their property to do that, to make lots. Like you said, very expensive, a lot of engineering that was involved.
And,
And I remember there being issues with it too, so anyways.
and there's flood zones that add another level to it. You can't do anything if there's a floodway. You're limited in scope of what you can do depending on, I forget what, it used to be the 100-year flood, you know. So wherever the base flood elevation is, and, you got no rise certificates that can't cause any problems on any other neighbors. So there's a lot of work that would have to be done before that could happen, for sure.
All right, thank you, staff. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak for or against?
My name's David Tackon, 415 Fairwood Boulevard. I have a piece of property on Ashley Drive, which is on this same gully, and I support her application. Her footprint fits within that area, we all love the gullies in Fairhope, and I don't see how that would detrimentally hurt that gully. On Fairwood Drive, there's quite a few houses that are built right along the gully. There's been no real problems at all. So I know that they've gotten variances before for this kind of thing, and I support that. So.
Excuse me, David. David? Thank you. Could I get your last name, please? Sure. Spell it for me.
T-A-C-O-N.
All right, is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? All right, we'll close the public,
I do
excuse
have
me.
a question from Leroy. Why would removing trees close to the gully make the gully bigger?
Erosion?
Start to take up planting
You
around.
mean like the roots and?
Yes, and that's what's holding the soil in place.
I'm going to take down as few trees as possible to build the home. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to remove as few trees as possible to build the home. I love the trees. I love the lot. I love Fairhope. Okay,
All right.
that's it.
This time, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. Board members, is there any further discussion?
Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
curious about the house next door and what the setback is on it and the cul-de-sac. Do we know that? It looks fairly close.
Which house?
It would be to the east, west.
To the left of it.
This
right?
one?
To the right,
Yes.
yes.
There have been no other variances approved for the neighborhood, so presumably it is compliant with the standard 40-foot front setback.
So in our package, there was something that had something about a variance. Which property was that
Correct.
for?
That was Lot 1 of
Lot one.
Greenbrier
Okay.
subdivision. That's to the east, southeast of the subject site. Correct, yeah. Hunter's highlighting or putting the mouse over the correct one on the image there.
It's this house here that faces Blue Island.
Okay,
95 Blue Island Avenue. They requested a similar 15-foot front yard setback variance and were approved.
I think you have that's on this lot, you can see that easement that went through the property there.
okay.
Can you explain, you said before that staff cannot recommend approval? I didn't understand that. Can you?
Hunter can probably speak to that a bit more. He's been here when we've had a couple other requests for this site.
So, part of the conversations you're hearing, if there's trees being preserved, if we had more information and we can give a 7-foot variance administratively to save trees and things like that. Is the property, unusable without a variance? That metric, we've said no. I think you can meet not this particular floor plan, but you can build a house, meet the regulations of the neighborhood and not require a variance, and probably be further away from the gully than this is proposed. But that's kind of our challenge when we're looking at what's being proposed and what's the level of detail. That close to a gully, you're going to disturb the edge of that gully with, how far was that plan reference?
It was
3 feet, 4, 5 feet?
No, I think it was like
maybe?
6 feet.
Okay.
Got closer at some edges, though.
Yes. So that's if you think about our support for a variance on a scale of 1 to 10, of whether we recommend on one end, deny on the other, this one is closer to the middle. There's certainly some challenges with the property. That is a standard for, can we even grant a variance? There's the aspect of, was that unknown when these lots were created? It was very much known that there was a gully. They created the easements and all to protect that gully. It may have even migrated through the years. It doesn't quite match up where that easement is right now. That would be something that would kind of have to be addressed. Has erosion already moved? And the plan we have up, do you have those? You've got those overlaid, I believe. Yeah, so you can see where the gully sits today, versus where that drainage easement is. So we have denied variances for the same reason.
But I guess my question is related to the gully. It's kind of like it's creating a new drainage easement that's not platted, that's pushing it further by, 30, 40 feet onto the property. So you're losing 30 or 40 feet of property buildable area versus what is there. So that's
Yeah,
technically a hardship based off of topography, correct?
topography is absolutely. There's
And,
no argument
and the
there.
further we push the house towards the street, the further away from the gully it would be more likely. Not necessarily this plan, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, but
Right.
any plan, that would only be a help to help save the natural topography in the gully long
Yes,
term.
Yeah, and I think if we were being proposed and there would be more room away from a gully, the edge of the gully, we would certainly be in more support of that. we're kind of seeing this right on top, and I don't think I've seen a house proposed this close to the top of a gully,
Yeah, it's,
around, and you know, that's part of it's a large piece of property. If there's no protections on the gully, then you can fill in, you could bridge to the back part. We've actually had people exploring those options. So what if we give a variance and a house is built and then the gully's filled in and there's no limitations on the, rear side of the property? So I don't know. It's a hard one because I know it costs money to do that work to get us the answers we're kind of asking for. Theoretically, if you give the variance and, that work is then done to the geotech and all that, and it's never acted upon, the variance goes away. So that might be an avenue to, if you were contemplating granting a variance, Ms. Rice can then go do some homework, and if it, is too costly or can't build that close to and the permit's never acted upon, the variance has no standing effect after a year.
Yeah.
I think one of Neil's questions earlier was about sliding it forward, but creating the right setback or separation of the gully. Are those things that we can say, like, if we move it forward by 15 feet, there has to be a minimum of, I don't know I'm not a geotechnical engineer, so I don't know if it's 10 feet or whatever the minimum would be required no matter what.
Yeah.
If 15 feet equals 15 feet or something like that.
And that's what we don't know. If this was categorized as a stream, for example, or even an intermittent stream, we know that since we're not doing a subdivision, it's a 20-foot setback from the top of that bank. This is not any of those categories that we can say definitively that would be what that is. So that would have to have some study done.
What
for
during
that.
the building permit process, would that be looked at?
For the geotech, yes.
Well, I mean, for just so it doesn't harm the gully, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That seems to be everybody's concern. How close can you get to the gully? So when it goes through the permit portion, that would be reviewed?
Yes. I mean, I don't know exactly where these contours came from. Would assume it's probably from the Baldwin County Parcel Viewer. Those are, in some places, 16 years old. It could very much be that these contours are not exactly where these are. So a topographical survey would probably need to be done on this property.
Because
to
the
find
gully
out
may not
exactly.
be where the gully's shown here.
Yes.
And how far do we want to be away from a gully? I know the further the better.
Yes.
That's the question that we kind of keep dancing around, and staff, unfortunately,
We
doesn't
don't have
the
the
expertise to
tell
answer.
you that exactly.
If the board saw fit to recommend approval with some kind of condition, you could potentially word it in a way that an engineer could certify some sort of, safety standard for that. But these are all questions that we can't really get answers to until Ms. Slagle, employs an engineer to do geotechnical work, or,
Ms. Rice.
excuse me, Ms. Rice.
The,
I just saw your nameplate there, and
And I
it
mean,
stuck
if-
to me.
Can we table it for those?
That would be another option. You can table it and have, ask Ms. Rice to get some of those reports to see how close you can be. Ironically, this is a weird year of subdivision plats because they had something they created, before these, what was it called? A sloughing easement.
Oh, yeah.
That was a very unique term here, and it is put in every covenant. And a sloughing easement was usually 20 to 40 feet away from the top of the bluff, and it sits on a lot of properties around Fairhope. When you look at the description in the covenants, that basically means on that sloughing easement, you cannot remove any trees, roots. Even if you take a tree down, you got to leave the stump, monitor it. You can't go kind of clear cut, disturb that sandy soil, because that leads to erosion, and we have problems. This particular one just had the drainage easement, not a sloughing easement. So it would have to be, and that's kind of why this property sat here for as long as it has, because I think that's to be able to get those answers is going to take some engineering and some studies. We don't have the easy answer sitting on a plat, unfortunately.
How expensive is the engineering?
Ryan, Frank, y'all for a geotech to come out and look at
Gotta
this?
get a survey of it first.
Yeah, topographical survey of the,
The tech will probably go out and evaluate it, or a civil engineer.
yeah. And the civil's usually gonna
So-
rely on the geotech
Yeah.
study.
I was gonna say, the gully soil is different than the bluff soil as well.
Yeah.
So if we've worked on lots, you can get close, the bluff lots, a lot of the geotechnical engineers say the geological anomalies, you shouldn't be able to do what they are.
Yes, yeah.
But you can get actually closer onto the top of that bluff. It's not as sandy as the gully lots typically are.
Yeah.
So, like you said, I think you'd have to know where the topography really
Yeah, you gotta-
falls
yeah.
to know where the house sits on the lot.
Right, that's the
In
first thing,
comparison,
get
and
an
then-
accurate topographic survey.
And then it's a few $1,000s at the most to get a geotechnical engineer to do its soil testing.
Yeah.
And.
And
give
they
some
would
sort of-
guide like how far you need to be away based on
Yeah,
what this is.
the soil types are.
You know, theoretically, if this is not, there could be, maybe, we won't call it filling in completely, but maybe there is some stabilization techniques that can be done when, as part of the permitting, and they would recommend those things, because to build this close, there would definitely be a disturbance of that area. I don't see any contractors building houses without, 10, 15 feet around the house at least.
And she'll need this for her building process anyway, is that correct?
Yes. Yes. And I
there-
would say starting more generic without a house plan, looking at the soils, looking at the topographical survey and getting the reports, like how close can you build, that's gonna be a limiting factor.
Does Fairhope have any sort of building permit ordinances or anything that relates to being close to this that they require? I mean, is there, once you get to a certain point, the city's requiring you to have topo and geotech or anything like that? Because I know it's not on a typical lot, you're not required necessarily to have all of those things.
Right. When warranted, and it's kind of being what's proposed. Again, we don't have a permit, so we haven't triggered those other departments to chime in here. But I would, knowing what's going on, and I think we've talked about it in front of the city council, we actually paid a geotech to look at some of the bluffs and gullies, and we've got a draft that's in kind of final reviews of providing guidance to answer some of these questions so that somebody knows on the front end. That does require, certainly it's more clear. It gives the thresholds though, when you're building within this much distance of a gully or bluff, you have to get a topographic survey and provide the geotech reports. I don't want to speak for all of Eric's regulations.
Yeah, I didn't know either,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, we typically, yes, when it's subdivisions and things like, if this was a subdivision being done today, probably wouldn't be a lot. But it was done in 1993. It is a lot. It's got some requirements, on it, and here we are.
If we make a motion to table it, this would give her enough time to get us those answers?
And I think I would ask that we get some work
Yeah.
on some specific
We tell her what to-
instructions,
Yeah,
so that we're all clear on when to come back, because I think that's probably, even with a survey, I know the business day, that might take a little bit of time. Might not be able to turn that around before the next meeting.
I guess
Ryan,
I want to, I'm going to be contrarian and maybe if the rest of the board here, but
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would do with that additional information, how we would decide whether or not to push it further forward or not. I think that, like, the big picture is, I know it needs to go further forward. And I think that the city staff needs to say, with the information, that needs to be 10 feet or 15 feet, or something that's related from engineering reports, that it might change her whole design, even with additional space in front of it. And I don't know, 10 feet or 15 feet, I don't know how to judge that either. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, having reports is going to may say yes or no to this variance in any way.
Well, and I respect that. That's very much some of the same conversations we had, but without that, we can't tell you, so that we're saying recommended denial. That's kind of what's pushing. If if the needle is hovering around the middle of whether we recommend denial or not having some of that information is certainly pushing us to we have to recommend denial without knowing that and what the alternatives are. If that could be clear and we had a clear line of where is the top of the bluff and how far you need to be away with it, then maybe that would be a condition that y'all can, okay, we will give a front variance to ensure that this is, protected in if we're moving away to protect the gully, then let's protect the gully, and that gives some guidance on whether the house could fit there. Because theoretically, that could come back and say, well, you need to be 20 feet off here, and you might need a 20-foot variance instead of a 15-foot variance.
Correct.
So that would, be I think a critical piece of information that we just can't provide that answer for.
I agree. Yeah.
Aren't we just looking at the 15-foot front yard setback variance tonight, period? And if it is denied, then she can go do some homework and try to find a footprint that would fit in the 40-foot setback. Seems like we're making it very complicated instead of keeping it a simple request for the 15-yard variance.
If she's denied this, she can't come back for another year to request anything
No,
different.
She can't come back with the exact same request for a
We're only
year.
saying 15 feet. She can come back with a different footage.
You could come back with a
10,
different
20.
request.
Yeah.
Okay.
More information.
I thought
Yeah,
it was,
so we're
I thought
only
once
looking
you
at 15
got denied,
feet.
you're not allowed to come back at all for a year, so
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. Okay.
I was under the same impression as Ryan.
I know that's how it is for zoning change requests. Let the
I did
direct-
not have my hard
We'll let the
copy
director
of
check me on that.
Yeah, we have a lot of applications and each has their own requirements, so, putting me under the spotlight to see how quick I can find this with just a phone.
And you can administratively do 7 feet, is that right?
To save trees. If there are trees within, which you'd have to have a tree survey, to move the house away from a tree, we can, not, there has to be some logical, we're actually getting away from a tree as well, do a 7-foot variance. I do not have in our zoning ordinance any eligibility to grant any variance based on the gully or any other requirements, just for the trees. And I hope you're looking too on your bigger device over there,
I am.
Peyton. Thank you. Let's see.
I was under the impression if the variance is denied, they can't come back for a year.
With a different
I thought
footage.
too.
The limitation on resubmission from Article 2, Section C states, an application for the same parcel of land shall not be submitted within 365 days of final decision of the board. Any application may be withdrawn without prejudice prior to the opening of the hearing by the board. A request to withdraw an application shall be submitted to the director in writing. So at this point, a decision has to be made, and if it is of denial, she cannot come back with another request for 365 days.
Because it's about the property, not the
About
request.
the parcel, not the request.
The special exception for uses maybe where it was coming in, but yeah, so
So
a
if we,
variance for,
so it's either we table it, give her some more time to bring more information, or we vote to approve or deny, and whatever happens tonight, just 365 days from there. no matter
Correct. And I would just add again for the record, if you do choose to table it, you may wish to provide a specific number of months to come back rather than just indefinitely, but that is up to you, of course.
please put a, please, if that's the way the board chooses, please put an end on it for us. If-
You would say up to X amount of months.
If I can be approved for a 15-foot variance, I will do everything that the city of Fairhope needs for me to do pertaining to the gully. I mean, I can change my house plan.
I think they would have
Yes,
to
my first-
re-advertise it. Is that correct? If she's changing it from what she's asking to something different?
I mean, does that have anything to do, I mean, I do have a house plan, but it can be changed easily.
I think she's still saying just
Can
grant
I
the
be
15
approved
foot,
for a 15-foot variance,
what we've advertised?
and I will
Okay.
make the house work?
And I will say, Ms. Wright, that's, I don't want, there is, a precedent created by taking that action. And everybody that wants a variance could ask for the same thing. So there
Right.
is,
I guess the main reason for the meeting is the variance, or is it everything?
it is a variance, absolutely.
Right.
That all of the other,
The main purpose of
I-
tonight's meeting is the 15-foot front yard setback
Yes,
variance,
that's-
but it will affect your potential floor plan and
I can
future.
work with anybody that I need to work with on the floor plan. It can change.
Well, that was my first question. Can it change to stay within the
It
40-foot?
certainly can.
Stay within the 40-foot front?
No, I don't think so. I promise you, I've looked and looked and looked.
well, and,
that can
and we
change.
can't grant a variance so that, and I want to just advise this, we cannot grant a variance just to have a one-story home. I understand the logic of that, but that, for the land and topography and size, shape, all of that, but because of something, how someone wants the building to be is not a reason under our state laws to grant a variance. So that's something we're kind of limited
I
to.
got you. Okay.
I make a motion to table it, for 60 days, 2 months.
Would you consider more
Yeah.
time? She always can come back earlier if she gets it done.
Sure.
Maybe 6 months? You can always come back,
Sure.
Back earlier.
yeah.
What are we asking?
But let-
And I would like, topographical information where the actual top of the gully is, and information from a geotechnical engineer that provides some sort of direction of how far to stay away from the edge of that gully. And that would relate to where you could actually build on the lot. I'll give you a buildable area that's more realistic, and that will tell us if we need to move the front setback line or not. The gully, if it's, like you said, it could be, this could be wrong, and the gully could be further back the other direction. We have no idea. So if this is not a real, if this is a satellite GIS topo.
Believe so. And Ms. Rice may be able to speak to that more specifically. I believe the survey, Ms. Rice, if you wouldn't mind stepping back up here. Who was your surveyor that performed this, or was this an old survey
It's
that,
an old survey, but Patrick placed the house, the footprint.
and Patrick is,
He's an engineer, architect.
so I believe this is an older survey.
And he was actually going to build on this lot and and did not. It was gonna be like a trailer.
But to answer your question, I believe this is an older survey, and we're not sure where the
It possibly is
topography
an older
came
survey.
from.
So you can't grant a variance without having a lot of other information.
I'm making a motion to, I'm motions, I guess I'm gonna say, motion's on the table now, so, making a motion to table,
For how long?
6 months. You can come back before then. Topographical survey that shows the top of the gully and some recommendations from a geotechnical engineer that gives direction of how far to build off the gully line.
Do I have a second?
Is it still open for comment?
No.
The public hearing's closed.
I'll make a second on Ryan's recommendation. Take a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Repeat what the motion is?
I'm tabling, motion to table for up to 6 months. She comes back with a survey that has the top edge of the gully and information from a geotechnical engineer, how far to build off the edge of the gully.
And what has that got to do with the 15 front yard setback?
That's what I wanna know.
I mean, it will define how much buildable area is on the lot right now compared to what's there.
Are you agreeable to that as the Bryce?
Yes.
Agreeable to that?
Oh, yes, yes, of course I am. I'd love to know if I could have a variance before I hire.
The motion on the table would not grant you a variance. It would give you an opportunity to go do some study
I can do it.
as the property, and then come back with that information.
With more additional information for us.
I want to make sure Ms. Rice knows that does not automatically grant a variance.
Right.
So she could theoretically do that effort and be denied a variance.
Well, that's what I was trying to avoid, is I would love to have a variance of 15 feet and then spend the money to do whatever else I need to do to build a home on the lot. I would rather not spend the money if I'm going to be denied.
I don't see the hardship based on what we have right now.
Right.
And for us to do a variance, there has to be a hardship that is,
Oh, I think there's a hardship
But
due to
it-
the gully.
it looks like your house could be on, spaced on here, based on the information that we have. Not necessarily the house that you want, but a house.
Right.
And for us to give a variance, I mean, we have to be able to do it for the next person too. We can't just do it because
It's
you
been
want a certain.
done before due to gullies, but, I mean, I'd love to be approved for a 15-foot variance.
There is a motion
Motion on the
open on
table.
the table right now.
I don't agree.
And then I can proceed with anything I need to do to build the house.
Can I ask a question
Yes,
at
ma'am.
this point? Peyton,
Yes, ma'am.
so would you repeat, if it is denied, does she have to wait a year before she can come back with
That
a
is
different
correct.
footage?
That is correct. If the motion, currently we have a motion open to be tabled, but if that were to be closed and a motion was offered to deny the request, she would have to wait 365 days to come back with any other request for this
Okay.
property.
Thank you.
Well, the motion is to delay it.
Currently, the
Delay.
motion is to table for 6 months to
Right.
give Ms. Rice time to come back with a topographical survey showing the top of the gully and geotechnical report showing specifically how far from the top of the gully would be a safe distance to build a structure.
And I would think her efforts would also go into trying to find a smaller footprint that would fit on the 40-foot setback.
The request that Mr. Baker put out would give her more information that could potentially allow her to do that, yes.
I think that would be the decision tree if Ms. Rice would like, one, I'm finding what those costs may be. She might say, well, let me go look at a smaller footprint house that I
Yeah.
can build without a variance. But even with that house, there's gonna have to be some potential consideration of permitting of adjacency to that gully.
Okay.
Has Frank already voted?
Mr. Lamy, I believe it is to you with the open tape.
Okay, I'll,
Oh, aye.
aye, yeah.
Motion carries unanimously to table the request for 6
conditions.
months and the additional engineering work. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any old or new business?
Sir?
We do not tonight. We do have a case.
No.
No,
We do not have a case.
we do
for
not. The case that was tabled last month, should be back, I believe,
May.
they needed one more month, so we do not have any items for the agenda.
So no
Next
meeting for next month, is that correct? We have a
Motion
motion.
to adjourn.
Okay, so moved. Thank you.